Hello family and welcome back. In today's tutorial, I'll be drafting or cutting a long and short sleeve using a pattern paper. In order to know the size of fabric you need when drafting on the actual fabric, measure your sleeve width plus 2 inches and the full length of the sleeve. So guys, I'll make use of this drafting paper which is on fold. And first I'll start with a long sleeve. I'm going to draw a line at the top edge. This line I'm drawing is my shoulder line. I'll just label it as SHL, meaning shoulder line. Next thing guys is to take the shoulder line to bicep line measurement. In my case it's 4 inches, which is a standard measurement. You can decide to use 5 inches if the sleeve width is bigger. And I'll draw another line passing through that point. And from there, I'll again take the shoulder line to elbow line measurement at 12 inches. That you measure on your hand. Then I'll square another horizontal line across. And lastly, I'll take shoulder line to sleeve full length measurement at 22 inches. I'm adding 1 inch for stitching allowance. After I'm done with all that, I'll just label all the drawn lines starting with the bicep line, also known as the sleeve width. Next is the elbow line, and then the full length of the sleeve. Having done that guys, I'm now going to put in the sleeve measurements, and I'll start with finding my sleeve width measurement. To do that, I have this back and front tiny bodice pattern I'll use for illustrations. This is the front and the back respectively. Now as you can see, the front armhole is different from the back. The front is curving inwards like the back. So to calculate sleeve width, you need to measure both armholes for front and back part. Divide it by 2, then subtract 1.5 from whatever you get. If let's say the armhole measures 20 inches, you can subtract up to 2 inches. And for example, I find my armhole total length to be 16 inches. I'll divide it by 2, which equals to 8, then subtract 1.5 from 8, which is now 6.5. That will be the sleeve width I'll mark on the bicep line. I'm now going to measure that 6.5 inches on the line. So now I'll draw a line from the top corner to the mark. Now on the drawn line, I'll measure its midpoint and mark, which is half of 7.5 inches. And on that exact point, I'll measure 0.5 inches up. And again find midpoint of each side and put mark. For the first one is 4 inches, half of that is 2. I'll put a mark there. And I'm going to repeat the same on the other side as well. Then on this first mark, I'll measure 0.25 inches down. On the other mark, I'll also measure another 0.25 inches up. After doing so, I'll use a French curve ruler to draw curves. The curves shouldn't be so steep, and this is how you achieve the best curve on the first part. And then on the second section, the curve is to be drawn inwards. That's why I'll place the ruler in this manner to draw another smooth curve. So guys, with all that, we're only done with the front part of the sleeve and not the back. The back is not as complicated as the front. And for the back, I'm going to use a French curve again to draw a curve passing through this 0.5 inches mark. And that's it. Moving forward, I now want to put in my elbow measurement on the elbow line. And you find your elbow measurement by measuring the elbow circumference. I'll use 10 inches, which is 5 after dividing by 2. Then on the wrist, again, you need to measure the circumference of your wrist and divide whatever you get by 2. In my case, it's 9 inches. So now I'll mark 4.5 inches because the paper is on fold, that is 9 divided by 2. And with that, it's now time to draw the outline. And using this straight ruler, I'll first join the upper part with a line. And then we'll go ahead to extend it to the full length. Remember, up to this point, guys, we've not added any stitching allowance on the side. So now I'm going to measure 1 inch on the sides for the stitching allowance. And I'll use the new marks to draw now the new outline. This is it. I'm not going to add any stitching allowance while cutting on the fabric. I'll also go ahead to extend this part. And this is all for a long sleeve, guys. What I'm left with is cutting, which is now simpler. I'll start with the back part of the sleeve, then we'll cut out the front separately. I'm done cutting the back, guys. So now I'll unfold the paper in order to cut the sleeve front part. And this is now a basic long sleeve pattern. The front part is to be stitched on the front part armhole and the back on the back armhole. I'll just go ahead to label these as the front part and the back as well. For a short sleeve, everything else remains the same except for the full length, which is measured on the body. For instance, if your full measurement is 10 or 8 inches, you add 2 inches stitching allowance for folding. Guys, kindly subscribe, like and leave a comment. Let's meet in our next tutorial.